Hello guys, I'm here to present to you this lightning talk about using Artifact Hub to gather community pieces to create your own pipeline. So let's do it. Here is our agenda. So I'm planning to talk a bit of myself, just a quick introduction, then explain why do we need pipelines or why should we have pipelines into our software project. Then how to do this with Tekton, and then I will present to you the Artifact Hub and present to you a demo, which is actually a comparison between how to do this in pure Tekton and then with using Artifact Hub. So a bit of myself. My name is Joao Pedro Poloni Ponce, but everybody calls me JP. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Brazil. I'm an information engineer, which is a mix between computer, electronics, and telecommunication engineer. And I'm currently working as software engineer at Red Hat. A fun fact about me, I was here last year talking about image segmentation, and here I am again. So why do we need a pipeline in our project, or why this is important? So a pipeline is a resource that can automate the software delivery, which makes this process non-dependable of one person or a set of people. And a pipeline can ensure the code we are trying to build or deliver is repeatable and reproducible. So if we use the same set of parameters as input, we must have the same output. And a pipeline can short the delivery time for our products because we can automate this process, and as soon we can have a bug fix or introduce a new feature, we can release a new software, a new version of this product. And how do we do this with Tekton? So Tekton is a key native implementation of pipelines, where since it's key native, what we have to do is basically describe the tasks and the pipeline we want to create. And the Kubernetes or the OpenShift will try to reach this state. And what we in fact do is describe how the pipeline works, all the actions, all the tasks we want to do, and all the steps of these tasks. And let's say the traditional way to do this, it's basically we ask to our engineers to write the script with all the set of commands that we want to implement, that we want our pipeline to execute. And the thing is, this is a very time-consuming action. And sometimes write the pipeline or write the script to automate this task, it can become hell because there's a lot of new things, and we don't want the pipeline to become a project itself. What we want is to be simple and just keeping our big project the thing that we want to deliver in our pipeline just to support this. And this is a situation we definitely want to avoid. And we, as software developers, we are very concerned about write code, or in this case, artifacts that can be reusable in other projects, in future projects. So we don't need to write unnecessary code again. And the fact is, pipelines can share a lot of steps between themselves. So for example, clone for every software code, it's basically a step that we are taking always. Build for container softwares, and deploy if we want to make our pipeline, if we want to make our product available somewhere. And probably the company you work for or will work for has more than one project, which means that they can possibly be more than one pipeline. And sometimes they can have more steps in common than the ones I just presented. For example, if your company have a test suite, you probably can insert another common step here and reuse in your projects. And wouldn't it be awesome if we have a place where we can just gather community pieces which other DevOps engineers did and they share with us? Well, this place exists, and it is the Artifact Hub, which, as the name suggests, is a hub which hosts artifacts, and it's available for everyone to use. And there's a lot of community pieces there that we can just look for and use in our projects. So we can search and use the Artifact Hub for open source Tekton tasks or pipelines, container images. If we need some kind of customized image, we can go there and just search. And even Helm charts we can find there. And this can be very useful for our project because it allows our engineers to work on what's matter instead of reinventing the wheel, rewriting code. And this is the logo of the Artifact Hub. And here, it's a print screen of a Git clone task. As you can see, it's well described with a lot of information of how to use it. And there in the corner, there are some cool features that they teach how to install this task. What we don't actually need to install it, I will show to you how we can do without installing this directly on our cluster. We can see examples, which is a really cool feature when we are trying to implement this and we need some examples to understand how it works. And the manifest, which is this Tekton task itself. So we can see how it was built. And now let's go for the demo. Let me mirror my screen. So it's not there. Oh, cool. So here, what I have is a pure Tekton pipeline. And Tekton uses the approach of YAML file in this way. So we need to specify an API version, the kind of the pipeline we are doing. So it's a pipeline, the name, and specify some resources. The things that are important here is the workspace, because it is when we create a local environment that we can pass through other tasks, and the parameters I'm using here. So I have two parameters, the Git URL of the repository I'm trying to deliver, and the path for the YAML file of the deployment settings the settings of my deployment here. And here are the tasks. So the first task is to clone the repository, and it has only one step, which I'm using the image Alpine with the git command, and the working directory of the one I specified here. So I'm using this workspace, this local environment, and I'm using this directory here. And as I mentioned, I have to create my own script to do this. So I'm starting with remove the old repository, then I'm cloning and I'm passing the path to the next step. The next step is to build our container image. It runs right after the clone step, and it is built in an image of the build.a container. It also works in this directory, workspace output path. It is the same of the last step. And it has some secret keys refs here because I want to push my image to my Docker Hub account. So I need to specify I'm using my username and my password. And here again is the script. So I'm using build.build to build my image. Then I execute my login, and then I push this image to my Docker Hub space. And after, we have the build. They have the deploy that runs after the build, which has two steps. with the Alpine version, which has just replaced the placeholder of my deployment YAML file with my recently created image. And the next step is just the deployment on my Kubernetes cluster. So I'm just applying kubectl, apply -f, and using the parameter here, YAML file. So this is the way with pure Tekton. And notice that I have to write some commands. And if I have another software project, I can reuse some of these things or use the artifact hub, which is in fact I did here. So the start is the same. The parameters are the same. I'm using the git URL. Then I'm specifying the YAML path of my deployment file. But here is the difference. So my first task is to clone. But I'm not using an Alpine image with git command. I'm using the resolver, which means I'm fetching the artifact hub. And I'm specifying these parameters. These are the configurations I need to use to install to specify this is the task I want to fetch there. So it's a task. The name is git clone. And the version is 0.5.0. And then I pass the parameters I want to use to this task. So it's the URL, which assumes the value of the git URL. And the workspace is exactly the same I had before. Then I run to the build. It runs after clone. And notice that the resolver here is not the hub. It's a git. What I did was I turn this build into a reusable task because it has my credentials here, my username, my password that some companies has some enterprise users. And so here, I just make this step, I just upload to a Git repository, and I'm using it here again. I just had to specify the URL of where this Git repository is, the branch, which is the revision with the main branch, and the path to the YAML file of my task, which is artifact build.yaml. And then I just pass the params image, which is the name of the image I'm using. And the deploy is just the same as it was. But the cool thing is that I kind of cheat because I found this image on the artifact hub. So that's another thing that we can use artifact hub. We can search for images that do the commands or has the command line interface that we need to just apply the set of commands we want here. And just to show to you, I've run the pipeline before the presentation, and I can show it running now. So here is the first one, is the traditional. So I'm cloning this repo. Then I'm executing my command here, cloning into test repo. And then I'm building the image. So it's 6 steps that the container file has, which is use the base image, then work in dir, copy, run npm install, expose my port, and at the end, start the application. Here is the push part, where I'm just trying to copy the artifacts of build up to my Docker Hub account. Push successfully, and then my deployment. And here, oops, a bit. Here is the, and here is the other way I showed to you. So it's just the task I'm doing and the same commands of build up and the deployment as it was. So this is the last part of my demo. Any questions? If I want to use in a disconnected environment, if it's possible to use Artifact Hub. You will need to connect at some time, at least to grab the task and copy to your local environment and run the task in the Kubernetes cluster so they can have the task there. You need to have some adjustment in your YAML file so you can, instead of use the resolver, just use a task reference to fetch a task that you already have in your cluster, just this. Yeah. It will not be like just run the command and it will fetch there. You have to manually go and install by yourself. Thank you, guys.